Hey everyone, welcome. Today, we're diving headfirst into something that's totally changing the game in education. We're going to talk about how AI is starting to tear down that old school one-size-fits-all classroom model to build something new. A future where learning is completely personalized, just for you. So let's just start with a question that I think we can all relate to. Seriously, think about it for a second. Why is it that you can have a classroom of 30 totally different students, each with their own strengths, their own struggles, and they all get the exact same lesson, taught at the exact same speed? It's been the way things are done for, well, forever. But there's a huge problem with that model. And this slide right here, it just nails the alternative. On the left, you've got that rigid, straight line of traditional learning. But on the right, that's adaptive learning. It's a unique path for every single student, letting them move at a pace that actually works for them. We're talking about a massive shift from education being a one-way street to being a real conversation. So how do we actually make that leap? Well, here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to start by really digging into the problem. Then we'll check out the AI solution and peek inside its brain. After that, we'll break down the 3 secret ingredients that make it all tick, look at the real-world impact, the good and the bad, and finally, we'll take a look at what's next for the future of learning. Okay, let's jump into section 1, the learning problem. And in today's world, it really boils down to 2 simple words: information overload. I mean, we have access to literally everything now, right? An endless library of knowledge at our fingertips. But this quote really hits on the new problem that creates, trying to find the right stuff, the things that are actually useful and accurate. It's become a huge challenge. It's kind of like being dropped into the biggest library in the world, but with no card catalog to guide you. So if we're all lost in this massive library, how do we find what we need? That brings us to section 2. Turns out, technology is building that catalog for us. The solution? It's called an educational recommender system. So what on earth is that? Well, think of it like an incredibly smart tool, an AI, that can sift through that entire massive library of information in a split second. Its only job is to handpick customized content for you that's actually relevant and meaningful to where you are on your learning journey. It's like having a personal librarian, a guide, and a tutor all rolled into one. Which brings us to the really cool part in section 3. Okay, we get what it does, but the million-dollar question is, how does this thing actually think? How does it decide what to show you next? At its heart, it's actually a pretty simple but really powerful loop. First, it just watches and learns about you. It collects data on your skills, things you've had trouble with, what you like. Then the AI brain kicks in, using algorithms to process all that data and predict what you probably need next. And boom, it gives you a recommendation, the perfect video, or maybe the exact practice problem you need to see. Okay, so let's move on to section 4. That middle step, the process with AI part, it kind of feels like magic, doesn't it? But it's not. It's actually a really sophisticated system built on 3 key ingredients. Let's think of it like a personal trainer, but for your brain. So the first ingredient is the measurement model. This is like your trainer's initial assessment. Right before they can give you a workout plan, they've got to know where you're starting from. This model does exactly that for your brain. It's constantly asking, okay, what do you know right now? Where are you strong? And where do we need to build a little muscle? Now, the second ingredient is the learning model. This is your trainer's expertise. They just know that if you do, say, 3 sets of a certain exercise, your strength is going to improve in a predictable way. Well, this model does the same thing. It predicts how much your understanding will grow if you watch a specific video or read a certain article. It's the fortune teller of the whole operation. And finally, the third ingredient is the recommendation strategy. This is the actual workout plan itself. Your trainer takes what they know about your current level, combines it with their expertise on what works, and then picks the single best exercise for you to do right now. And here's the key. It's not just thinking about the next step. It's playing chess, thinking moves ahead to optimize your entire learning journey for the best possible results down the road. And check this out. This is a super simple look at how that measurement model actually links problems to skills. It's called a Q matrix. The system knows that question 1 is just subtraction, and question 2 is just multiplication, but it also knows that question 3 requires you to do both. So by looking at your answers, it can figure out with incredible precision which specific skills you've mastered and which ones need a little more work. Okay, so for section 5, let's zoom back out and take a look at the big picture. What is the real-world impact of all this tech? And, what are the roadblocks we still need to get past? Well, the benefits are huge. When your learning is actually tailored to you, studies show that your motivation and engagement just go through the roof. And that totally makes sense, right? When you're given something that's perfectly challenging, not so easy or bored, but not so hard you want to give up, you get this amazing feeling of progress, and that almost always leads to better results. But look, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are some really serious hurdles to overcome. We have to talk about data privacy, and we have to make sure the algorithms are actually fair and not biased. And then there are these big technical puzzles like the cold start problem. I mean, think about it. How can a system recommend anything useful to a brand new user it knows absolutely nothing about? These are the tough questions that researchers are wrestling with as we speak. And working through those challenges is what brings us to our final section, the future of learning. Because even with these hurdles, this is a field that is just moving and evolving at a wild pace. This timeline really tells the story. Back in the early 2000s, this was all about just basic web mining. Then we shifted into things like computer-aided instruction. But now, the whole conversation is about sophisticated AI, machine learning, and deep learning. The tech is just getting exponentially smarter year after year. And so we're left with this one final massive question. As these systems get smarter, and as we solve these big challenges of fairness and privacy, could AI become the ultimate personal tutor for every single learner on the planet? A guide for everyone, always ready to help them on their own unique path to mastering anything? I know it sounds like science fiction, but it's a future that's being built right now.